The first primary elections of 2026 took place in several states, and new polls show the Florida governor's race is taking shape. The big question, can a Democrat win in a state that leans Republican? The latest survey out March the 4th was done by the University of North Florida. It shows Republican Congressman Byron Donalds leading Democrat David Jolly 42 to 36%, and ahead of Jerry Demings 43 to 36%. The poll also showed Donalds besting his primary opponents, James Fishback, former House Speaker Paul Renner, and Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. Now, in the U.S. Senate race, Republican Senator Ashley Moody is leading Democrat Alex Vindman by 8 points and State Representative Angie Bixson by 7 points. Meanwhile, Florida lawmakers are also considering a bill that would provide security details for major party nominees. The House version includes candidates for governor and lieutenant governor. A Senate bill adds candidates for all of the cabinet. So there's plenty of interesting things moving in this arena of who's running for governor, who's running for lieutenant governor. I'd like to start with you. What would you say is the most interesting aspect of the polls?
Well, I think the polls are interesting, but there's only however many months ahead. They're very early, only 1,200 people polled in that regard. I'm more interested in following the money at this point. We're way too early to really look at those polls. And I'll tell you why the polls can also reveal something in a moment that really doesn't reveal what the voter electorate really wants to do. First off, Byron Donalds has $40 million and the endorsement of Donald Trump. Paul Renner is not getting much traction. Jay Collins spent millions of dollars to get name recognition, and it hasn't moved the needle one bit. And Fishback seems like a niche kind of governor candidate. And so people are watching him, but he's not necessarily making a big impact. But remember back to 2018 when Andrew Gillum ran against DeSantis. And this is somewhat interesting because it really reveals that you got to follow the money, but you also have to follow the Florida electorate's kind of personality. He was polling significantly ahead of DeSantis, and then he lost by just tenths of a point. And this is why polling is somewhat problematic, and money sometimes tells a better story. When pollsters asked people if they were going to support Gillum, of course they came back saying yes, yes, yes. He looked like he was going to win, but pollsters afterwards said maybe we have a lot of shy voters in the state of Florida, and what that really means is they don't want to reveal their racial preference in voting. And so I think this is a variable in this election that goes beyond polls, goes beyond even money trail. It goes to what is the personality of a Florida voter, and can Donalds overcome that racial preference with the endorsement of Donald Trump? And there's a reality, though, that we had only 3 black governors in the history of America. One, of course, is the darling Democrat Wes out of Maryland. But you know, it's hard to see if Byron's can overcome that racial preferences in the state of Florida.
As we look at the numbers, you know, Trump won in the state of Florida by double digits.
13%.
Is it surprising that the advantage that we've just said is single digits? Were you expecting to see a greater advantage?
Well,
Michael?
I think it's early. I think most voters are not paying attention. So if you look at 2018, if you remember, DeSantis was not even polling at that point. Adam Putnam in the primary was the early favorite.
That's right, yeah.
And he was considered a shoo-in. Well, that didn't happen. In the 2010 Senate race, Charlie Crist had like a 30 percentage point lead over Marco Rubio. And Rubio was considered a long shot. So I think we have a little bit of time before voters start really paying attention. There is polling that shows the crosswinds Republicans are going to encounter are going to be stiffer than they're used to. So there is angst about the economy. There is angst about the direction of our country. So Republicans need to prepare for that, but the fundamentals are very sound for them in this state.
There's structural realities to the politics of Florida. 1.4 more million Republicans. So that structure is there. But the idea is, can other issues like affordability that go beyond political party, and we have, you know, a sitting president says affordability is a hoax, but then you have our AG actually taking a side hustle for $1 million to teach an adjunct class at University of Florida, who says, hey, I need the money. And so maybe this affordability issue is coming into Florida in a fissure in the Republican Party.
Oh, you're starting to see that.
So whether you're a Republican or Democrat, you are determined to participate in the primary and in the midterm. Lindsay, what are some of the dates that the voters should really keep an eye out on for to take action so that they can participate?
Yeah, they need to keep the primaries in mind. Those are happening in mid-August. They need to be registered for those by mid-July. In terms of staying informed, sometimes I think we give voters less credit than they deserve. I know the polling's early, but also people are riled up about things like affordability, and they're more interested in learning about politics than I think we have been in past years. We've certainly seen in the league an uptick of people coming and joining our organization. And for those who don't know, we put out an excellent guide that we would like everyone to go visit before they vote in the next elections. It's Vote 411 guide. You can find it on the League of Women Voters site or Vote 411. It's nonpartisan, and it has information from every candidate who answers our questions. And usually every candidate does, because we have centuries of trust.
It's a great guide.
Yeah, it's a great
Agreed.
resource.
Agreed.
Information is power.